Hey, what's up guys? We already reviewed the Huawei Mate 10 a few weeks ago, but most Western markets are getting the Mate 10 Pro, which though similar is still a different phone. Let's get into what it has to offer. I'm Will for GSM Arena, and this is our Huawei Mate 10 Pro review. The Huawei Mate 10 Pro sports slim bezels and a sleek, modern-looking design. We have ours in mocha brown. The front and back are Gorilla Glass with an aluminum frame that offers a decent grip. The glass is slightly curved on the back, and there is a darker band highlighting the Leica dual cameras. There is full IP67 dust and water resistance on the Mate 10 Pro. Just wipe it off and you're good to go. Following the latest trend, there is no 3.5mm jack, so you'll have to plug headphones into the USB Type-C port. The fingerprint reader is located on the back of the Mate 10 Pro, and it's easy and convenient to reach. It's fast and responsive and always ready for your touch. But since it's on the back, you cannot use it for navigation like you can on other Huawei phones. You can use on-screen navigation keys or enable an on-screen navigation dock instead. The Mate 10 Pro comes with generous 128GB of internal storage as standard, which kind of makes up for the lack of a card slot. The 6-inch Amoled display is tall with an 18:9 aspect ratio. At 1080p, it actually has a lower resolution than most other flagship phones. But even so, the screen looks good, and a lower res can actually improve battery life and graphics performance. And AMOLED technology gives you deep blacks, top-notch contrast, and excellent sunlight legibility. In contrast, the Mate 10 has a 16:9 LCD screen with a QHD resolution. It doesn't have full waterproofing, but there is expandable storage, and it has a 3.5mm headphone jack. Plus, the fingerprint reader is front-mounted so you can use it for navigation. But even with all the differences, there are a lot of neat features shared by both phones. One is a stereo speaker setup with loud and clear sound. It's not perfectly balanced. The top speaker is used mostly for high-frequency sounds and is quieter, but you'll notice this only if you mute the impressive bottom speaker. There's an IR blaster at the top that can be used to control appliances. And there's also support for what Huawei calls projection mode. You can connect the phone to a monitor via USB to HDMI cable and use it just like a desktop PC, sort of like Samsung's DeX, but without a special dock. You can check out our in-depth video on the feature through the link in the top right corner. The Mate 10 Pro has an impressive 4000 mAh battery. In our proprietary test, it earned a great endurance rating at 96 hours. The phone is also quite fast to charge. You can go from 0 up to 58% in only 30 minutes, but there is no wireless charging if you're after that. The Mate 10 Pro runs Android 8 Oreo with Huawei's EMUI 8. All apps are on the home screen by default, but you can opt for an app drawer too. Depending on the market, you can enable either a Google Now feed or Huawei's Highboard. You can find a variety of designs and themes to choose from in the theme store, and Huawei has committed to providing Google's Android security updates to this phone every month. Inside the Mate 10 Pro is Huawei's newest Kirin 970 octa-core chipset with 6GB of RAM as standard. The 8 cores of the Kirin 970 processor do a great job, matching the performance of the current flagships. And with a new graphics processor coupled with a lower res screen, graphics performance beats almost all of the competition. The phone does tend to heat up under heavy use though, even to the point of throttling a bit in benchmarks. But when opening apps or performing day-to-day tasks, everything is smooth and lag-free. And with the Kirin 970, there's a dedicated chip for machine learning and neural processing tasks. Over time, the phone will learn to optimize its power use and performance to better suit your needs. It can also recognize faces and objects both in the photo gallery and on the camera itself. The Mate 10 Pro's Leica branded dual setup has one 12MP color cam and a 20MP monochrome, just like the Mate 10. The cameras have been upgraded from last year with a brighter f1.6 aperture and new image processing algorithms. Thanks to the neural processing chip, the camera is able to identify objects in the scene and automatically adjust settings accordingly, so it will switch to a plant mode, a text mode, or even snow mode. Unfortunately, the benefits of this are not always obvious. Color photos take information from both the color and the monochrome sensor. There is plenty of detail, great foliage rendition, not a lot of noise, accurate colors, and superbly wide dynamic range. Black and white photos have even more detail than the color shots, superb contrast, low amounts of noise, and great dynamic range, especially in the shadows. Thanks to the wider aperture and new image processing, low-light photos are much better now. The phone gets the focus right almost every time. There's quite a lot of resolved detail, and the contrast is better. And thanks to the OIS, there is no camera shake blur, even when the shutter stays open as long as a quarter of a second. The monochrome nighttime photos have even more detail, as the lack of a color filter allows more light to reach the sensor, so you can shoot at a lower ISO for the same exposure. Thanks to the dual camera, you have the capability for 2x lossless hybrid zoom just as before. This year though, the image quality and detail are even better. It's still a notch below the regular shots, but a lot better than you'd expect digital zooming to be. And the two lenses can work together to create a defocused background behind your subject. Portraits look good, and edge detection is accurate. The front-facing camera is 8 megapixels, and shots come out great with plenty of detail and pleasing colors. It's only the dynamic range that's not stellar, but at least you get portrait mode for selfies, even when several people are involved. Video recording is fine and is color only, just like last year. The H.265 codec means they take up less space than most other phones, and that comes without any penalty to quality, just like on the new iPhones. 4K videos have OIS and have good contrast and pleasing colors, but they're not the most detailed we've seen. 1080p videos are okay. They benefit from both OIS and EIS, but are sort of lacking in detail too. There is still a wide dynamic range, and audio quality is impressive. So there you have it. The Mate 10 Pro is different from the Mate 10, and not necessarily better or worse. It depends on who you ask. This is an odd move by Huawei, to have two different flagships instead of one in different markets, but there's nothing wrong with a little bit of diversity. The Mate 10 Pro is a gorgeous looking phone that does what everyone else is doing this season. It's no worse than any of the competing flagships, and it's even cheaper than some of them. So this year is definitely on a list of recommendations. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and you can always stop by gsmarina.com for our full test findings. See ya.